Okay, so basically, like this is a quote, like a question that is asked in 2023. Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. So just brainstorm, okay, about this particular topic. So as I told you, this particular topic you can choose as a persuasive essay. You have to pursue, or like you have to make the examiner like agree into whatever the statement or like whatever the arguments that you are giving. Basically, this is true. Okay, this is like a universal truth, so you cannot go against this particular thought. So the best strategies go along with this particular thing or like this particular statement and give arguments accordingly. So this particular question, just brainstorm, and if you have a pen and paper, just write down. Okay, you can pause the video and you can just write down. And you will be like going, I mean, whatever information that is coming into your mind, you can just, okay, you can just write down it. So just pause it and write down it. And while writing down, make sure that you have gone through or like you have collected each of these things. That keep closely to the subject. So whatever you have written, just to check it, whether you have deviated from the topic or not. The second thing, whether that brainstorming or the ideas you have presented or like you have collected from your memory, whether they have arranged it in an orderly fashion or not. And the next thing is that write concisely, whether you have written it in a very concise form or you know whether to write them in a concise form. That's also important. And finally, effective and exact expression. For each of the idea, we can present it in different ways that makes a different impact. Okay, so is there a way to effectively and exactly express each of these ideas? So that also you have to analyze. So basically, these are the different kinds of the quotes or like the different kinds of, I mean, basically, we are talking about enriching your essay by quote, different kinds of quotes. So here I am presenting you the different quotes. Okay, so what is the difference? I mean, definitely I know like you may be knowing some of these quotes and you may have used these kinds of different quotes in your essay. So what is the purpose of bringing this quotes? So again, I'm just like, I wish you to go through this particular thing. Here you can see, arrange the ideas in an orderly fashion. There should be an order, write concisely, and finally, effective and exact expression. So you can see, I have presented each of these quotes in an orderly fashion. The first thing is that the goal of education is the advancement of knowledge and the dissemination of the truth. Okay, that is the goal. So basically, the education has to provide the knowledge. Definitely, that objective is there. But along with that, it should be truth, or like it should enable the students or like the disciple to find the truth. And the next quote that I have given, okay, just read it. It says that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Okay, so the first quote talks about the actual purpose of the education or like what education is. Then the second thing actually talks about how the education should be. Okay, so education should be not to educate the mind, but the heart. Okay, the education should be given not just to the mind, but also to the heart. And if we give such an education, what will happen? Okay, so what will happen? You can read it here. So the third quote that I have incorporated is education imparted by heart can bring revolution in society. Okay, so that is what this education imparted through heart is going to make. Also, because like basically this is the change that the education is intended to bring in the society. So the first thing talks about what is education, how it has to be done. And the second thing talks about the purpose of the education or the nature of the education. And the third quote that clearly states or like the clearly reflect the impact of the education on the society. So here Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, he just says that the education will bring a revolution in the society. He doesn't talks about what is this revolution. Okay, so meanwhile, I just want to like convey this particular thing as you can see in this particular thing. So today is 11th November and today is the National Education Day also. Okay, so now we can just move on to the next quote. where it actually talks about what revolution or what change it is going to bring. So this statement is actually given by our former president APJ Abdul Kalam sir. So the statement is that, or the quote is that, if a country is to be corruption free and become a nation of beautiful minds, I strongly feel there are three key societal members who can make a difference. And who are these three societal members? They are the father, the mother, the teacher. So basically, this quote is also about education. So I have arranged each of this quote in orderly fashion. The first one, what is education and how it has to be done and what changes or what impact does it have and the impact the education is having. So I have just arranged them in the orderly fashion. Okay. And the most important thing, while presenting the quotes, it shouldn't be like randomly you are throwing the quotes, like just writing quotes, quotes, quotes. No, that's not the way. You have to blend this quote in your essay appropriately. Not like for the sake of writing the quote you have to write, but it's actually should be to substantiate the different kinds of ideas that you have presented. You should take help from this kinds of words from different kinds of personalities like John F. Kennedy or the Aristotle or like the Abdul Kalam Azad or like the APJ Abdul Kalam. You can take the help of their statements for the sake of supporting or like substantiating your argument. Okay, so that is called the orderly fashion. So in between, you will be like blending, you will be like merging this particular chords in your essay. Now, just we want to know how this has to be done. Okay, so just brainstorm on this particular topic. So what this particular question asks about, the education is what remains after one has forgotten and what one has learned in school. So which means that the education actually have a long lasting impact. So if we are like giving an education into the heart, that is like a value based education or like a moral education or like an education that is based on the skills or the basically in order to build certain kinds of like capacity skills, that will be long lasting even if like he has completed the curriculum or like the particular class or the education, that will remain in him, that will help him in the future also. That should be the education. But what is the present education system? That's the different like idea that you can bring. And while writing the essay, keep asking question to yourself again and again. What is education? Okay, so what is why we have to give this kind of an education? So if we are providing this kind of education, what impact it is going to have? If you are not providing this kind of an education, what will be the impact? And what is the present state of the education? What was the education in the last, or like historically, what was the education? And does this kinds of a non-value based or like non-moral based education or like the just the rote learning method, does it have any impact? Or like if it is having any impact, what are these kinds of impact? And if we are continuing by this particular way of education, where it will lead to? So this way you have to continuously ask the question. And each of the answer that is coming into your mind, that is the feeder point to your essay. Okay, so we can like think about the ancient time. In ancient times, the education, what was the method? What was the process? You can write about the Gurukula system was there. It has like interdisciplinary studies was there. Because of this interdisciplinary studies, there were like different scholars who actually like excelled in different kinds of field. We have like Aryabhatta, Brahmagupta. Okay, so we had like this kinds of like different scholars who are excelled in multiple fields. This is not just a case of India, but even in like all over the world, you can see that this interdisciplinary studies has actually bring this kinds of like great personalities who had mastered different kinds of subjects. Okay, so that thing you can bring. So always think like if the essay is not specifically about the India, you have to consider the Indian law. Okay, and also write about the India. You have to make a balance. Okay, so this you can do by bringing different kinds of examples from all over the world as well as like India that you can do. And like you can come into the present time. We are not following this kinds of a interdisciplinary skill-based education. We are actually not like enlightening the students. We are not training the students to seek knowledge, but information. So that's why we realized we want to like train you. Okay. Rather than just educating, we want to like train you. So the same way, because of this particular thing, what impacted is that the like education, what is the education? If you just ask in the present generation, what they will say? They will say that we want an employment. So does at least this education of the present time means this employment, this requirement of the employment, whether the youth who are like graduating from the Indian universities are like actually qualified or like they are employable. So that question you can ask. Okay, based on that, you can actually like bring different kinds of like data. So here like you can see this particular data you can include. This is actually given by the V box. Okay, as per the India Skill Report in 2023, only like 50 percentage of the young people in India can be employed or like employable, because like the rest of the percentage it doesn't have that particular skill sets. Actually, we have like made an improvement from the last time. Last time it was like 46% only, but this time this has like improved. On the good side, it has improved into 50%. That's really good. But anyway, this is the reality. And why this has happened? This has happened because we were following this rote learning. Actually, the education is not a lasting one. The education ends soon after the class. So this is the impact of such a education system. Okay. Now I want you to just brainstorm on this particular thing. Definitely, you may be like collecting different kinds of quotes, and you will be like collecting the quotes in this particular way. A nation is born stoic and dies Epicurean. Who said it? Will Durant. Likewise, you will be like writing different kinds of quotes and writing who said it. Okay, this way you will be collecting different kinds of quotes, but that is not the way. Okay, as the UPSC is demanding an exact and effective expression, we have to go one step further. So for that, what you have to do? You have to go for this way. Okay, so here you can see that along with the quote and who said it, I have collected some additional information. So the same quote, a nation is born stoic and dies Epicurean. This particular statement is given by Will Durant. And what I did, I just collected the background information. Who is this Will Durant? So the Will Durant is an American writer, historian, and philosopher who is revered for the insight he had in his work like The Story of Civilization. So how I will present this idea? Rather than just writing about this quote and who said it, I will be writing it in a different way. So I will be writing about this particular way. Will Durant, an American writer, historian, and philosopher who is revered for the insight he had in his work like The Story of Civilization, has once said, a nation is born stoic and dies Epicurean. And this particular statement from Will Durant means, likewise, I will continue. So you can see I have created a different impact. Okay, I just go into the background. I have collected some basic information, what he is, and some works that he has given. And I have collected this information and I have presented this particular information in this particular way. So if you actually go into any of the academic writing, you can find that each of these codes or like the data informations will be presented in this particular way. They won't be like just giving the data. They will be presenting that particular data along with some background information. So if that background information is there, it actually reflects the depth of your knowledge. So someone like if that person doesn't know your caliber or like what you have read, he's just reading this particular statement only. So for example, you have written this particular idea in your essay paper, and if he is just reading your like essay, what will be his impression about you? He doesn't know like whether you have read this Will Durant's work, that is The Story of Civilization. And actually, he also doesn't know whether this particular statement is there in this particular book. I mean, there is no way he can like cross-check it. Unlike, I mean, there will be like 0.01 percentage that that person has actually read that particular book. So in majority of the cases, there is no way. And even if he has read that particular book, there is no way like he will be able to like recollect whether this particular statement is there or not. So this is like a safe bet that you can put. So whatever the ideas you are presenting, make sure that you are presenting it in this particular way so that you can fetch higher marks. Okay, so this is one way. So I like you can see, in order to present this particular idea, I have collected the other informations also. So I will be presenting this particular information in this particular fashion only, so that I can show the depth of my knowledge. Okay, just a second. Okay, so this is the way I will be presenting the ideas. So I have shown you two different ways of presenting the codes. First of all, if the UPSC question is a code-based questions, you can bring different other kinds of codes to substantiate it. But whatever codes that you are bringing, make sure that you have arranged it in an orderly fashion. The second thing, don't randomly throw the codes. You have to like actually code the codes. Okay, you have to actually cover the codes with like this kinds of fancy like wraps, some like fancy presentations that will actually show the depth of your knowledge. That should actually like reflect the depth of the knowledge. But at the same time, I'm again saying that you have not read any of his work, or like that. I mean, whoever said that particular statement, you haven't read it, you haven't read anything about it. But if you have collected the informations like this, you can present it. Okay, that's all. So that's the thing you have to keep while presenting the codes. And basically, if we go through the previous questions, especially in 2023 question, most of the questions were actually code based, are like actually code based. Okay, so this was another question. The visionary decision making happens at the intersection of the intuition and logic. So this actually given by Paul O'Brien. Okay, so Paul O'Brien has given. So he's actually like an American, sorry, the Australian term. Okay, and like most of the people, like those from India may not be knowing him, but anyway, he has given this, and the statement actually makes sense. That's why the UPSC has asked this particular question. So you have to go through the previous year questions and collect the codes related to this particular thing and collect the background informations like this. Who said it and what is his background? Like if he has some like remarkable achievement, try to include that also. If he has written some kinds of books, include that. Okay. The same way, this is also a question asked in 2023. And this is actually like the statement taken from the book, okay, of the Simon de Beauvoir. So in her book, she states that the girls are weighed down by restriction, boys with demands, two equally harmful disciplines. So we have already said, I mean, discussed about this. So this is actually the statement that is taken from her book, Two Sex. Okay. So the next time when the UPSC actually asks any question about the patriarchy or like the woman empowerment, you can use this particular information. Okay. Simon de Beauvoir. So her book, that is Two Sex, that is written like published in 1949. You can use this information and this particular code in order to substantiate any of the questions that UPSC may ask in the future that is regarding the patriarchy. You can use this particular information. Okay. And the same way, this is also another question that's asked in 2023. Okay, so the question was, a society that has more justice is a society that needs less charity. This is actually said by the Ralph Nader. Okay, Ralph Nader said this particular thing. So what I did is like, I have collected the background information. So definitely, if there is some question that comes in the future examination in 2024 or like in 25, and that particular question is asked, I mean, if it is coming from the social justice, I can use this information. Like the Ralph Nader and the American perennial presidential candidate, the political activist, author, and the lecturer. So he has once said, a society that has more justice is a society that needs less charity. So this reiterates the importance of the social justice that we have to follow. So likewise, you can present that particular idea that will definitely create a different impact when it comes to the UPSC. Okay. So that's regarding it. Now, as I said, I mean, back then, I just asked you to keep like your eye on this particular thing, this particular question. The real is rational and the rational is real. So before like just going through this catchy phrase, just brainstorm it. What are the different kinds of ideas that you are going to bring? Definitely you will be writing about the real, rational, how and in what all ways this particular things are connected. So here, this kinds of like different kinds of like very philosophical question is coming, or like the statement is given. We have to use the catchy phrase or like the keywords. So for example, you can see one particular thing I have added here, that is motivated reasoning. So how I can connect this motivated reasoning with this demand of the question? Because when someone is following this motivated reasoning, he fails to find the reality. He tries to give the reasoning for whatever that has happened. So this actually create a veil over the side of that particular person, and he fails to actually find the reality. Okay, so that you can use an information or like as a catchy phrase to introduce a new idea in this particular essay, because like only this reality is leading to the rationality or like the rational thinking. If that particular person intentionally is following this motivated reasoning, because like this is there in each and every one of us, rather than finding the exact reason, we actually like find some kinds of reasoning. We have a motivated reasoning, we have a motivation. So based on that, we restrict ourselves, our rational thinking. That's why we often fail to find reality, isn't it? The examples are like the climate change, smoking. This particular things are there. You know that when Donald Trump was there, he actually rejected the very idea of climate change because he had a motivated reasoning, because he wanted to like promote the industrialization. So likewise, for each and everything, we are following this kinds of thing. The motivated reasoning actually inhibit us from finding the rationality. Okay, likewise, you have to bring this kinds of catchy phrases that will impress the examiner. Okay, so that is the role of the catchy phrase when it comes to your essay. Now, I want you to brainstorm on this particular topic. Okay, what are dimensions you can bring? The best for an individual is not necessarily best for a society. So this was a question asked in 2019. Okay, the best for an individual is not necessarily best for a society. So whether you are agreeing with this statement or not, that's what I want to know. If you are like agreeing with this particular statement, what all things are there? And if you're not agreeing with this particular statement, where you disagree, that's what I want. Okay. So the best for an individual is not necessarily. Okay. The statement is like not completely rejecting, it is partially rejecting. The best for an individual, not necessarily best for the society. Sometimes it will be best for the society, but not always and not necessarily. So we have to present the two sides. That is, something that is best for the individual is also best for the society. The same way, if everyone like, if the people are going or like if choosing the individual interest, then it is not good for the society. So we have to give both this arguments. We have to like substantiate. So you cannot choose a persuasive essay style for this particular thing. So either it should be like a descriptive or like an informative essay. That are the two different kinds of the structure that you can choose this particular for this particular essay or like this particular topic. Okay, that you have to keep in mind. So what are dimensions we will bring? That's the most important. So when it comes to like a catchy phrase that you can bring, you can use the word like tragedy of commons, because each person is acting on his own interest. It will actually ruin the society because it will create a common culture of exploitative nature. And when this exploitation is happening, the entire society will lack this cooperation. If this lack of cooperation is there, the society cannot progress. Okay, so that will actually lead to ruining of the society. So actually, like this is to show, or like this is to this actually will show that you agree with the statement. That is best for an individual. If everyone is striving for his best, that actually not necessarily lead to the best of the society. So where you can use this tragedy of common, that particular catchy phrase or the keyword you can use. But at the same time, we have to provide a counter argument. So this particular statement from the Adam Smith, you can see that by pursuing his own interest, the individual frequently promote that of the society more effectively than when he really intend to promote it. That if someone is like following his own individual interest, then that will actually promote the interest of the society than if the person is like actually following the interest of the society. So what basically this particular, what he says is that we have to act according to the personal interest. Okay, so this is actually like a counter argument given by the Adam Smith. You can include that in your essay. So it's actually like a counter argument because this particular statement actually demands that counter argument. And you can also say that this particular person is well versed in the economics. So he actually talks about the economics. So what about the other field? In other field also, is it applicable? That if everyone is following his own individual interest, will that actually lead to the best or the betterment of the society, or will that actually lead to the ruin of the society? You can bring the different kinds of the dimensions. Each of the subjects you can choose these kinds of different personalities, and you can bring your ideas. Okay, so that's how you have to choose the codes. That's how you have to bring the different kinds of catchy phrases. That's how you have to present the different kinds of the statistics and data. So, all of these things together will make your essay like an enriched one. That's what our objective is. Okay. And these are the other kinds of like different kinds of subheadings or the catchy phrases that I collected for my essay. So this is one reason why I fetched like really good marks when it comes to the essay, because I had all these kinds of different kinds of vocabularies in my collection, so that I was able to like use it frequently. Okay, so that sometimes maybe that has actually impressed the examiner, and maybe because of that he has awarded me good marks. Okay. And likewise, this I have collected different kinds of data for each of the topics. And definitely, this is when I collected the data. And later on, I like while going through the Indo editorials or while going through the different kinds of like scholarly articles, I realized how to present a data. Just collecting the information is not enough. What we should learn is that how to present that particular information, as we have discussed, how you have to present the codes, how you have to present this like different kinds of data. That should be like perfectly blend with the theme. That flow should be there in your essay. That perfectly it has to blend. Okay, so that's what we are going to actually learn. So our entire scheme of working is that from next week onwards, on every morning, there will be like on every Sunday morning, 6:30, we will be have a theme-based discussion. So the themes will be according to the themes that is given in the essay workbook that you can download from our app, as well as like from the Telegram channel you can download. And according to the theme, you have to prepare and you have to follow this. So why we have set it in the morning is because in the morning itself, if your brain start, this brainstorming happens, then the entire day, whatever topic that you are learning, you will try to think in that multiple perspective. Definitely that's going to like fetch you good marks. Like actually it will open up your mind. And this is not just for the essay. We will be having this GS live answer writing discussion also. Okay, so the informations will be given in our Telegram channel. You can either join in the KS Ranker Telegram channel or the IAS Ranker. In both the channels, we will be updating the informations. Okay, so this is the scheme of our this entire GS mains preparation for the essay as well as for the GS. So this is the mains preparation strategy, and we are presenting the new system of UPSC preparation, that is curriculum-based learning system. Not just for the essay, for every subject we will be having this workbook. Either it is for the CSAT, especially for the CSAT and essay. This is like the most crucial or the most important thing, because these are the two areas we actually want to build the skill. So for that two things, there will be like this curriculum-based learning system, and we'll be having this workbook. And not just for this two subject, for all the subjects, whatever we are providing, we will have this particular thing. Because when it comes to the geography, you should understand, you should have a standard definition, you should have collected data, you should have your own analysis, you should have your own diagrams, you should have your own like map, and you should have your own flowcharts. So we will make you to draw the diagrams, and how you have to draw that we will teach you. So this is how our curriculum based learning system is going to work. Okay, so you can just like depend upon for your skill development. We are not just focusing on like imparting the knowledge, because that is not sufficient. Like you will be getting the tools, but you don't know how to use it. The information is like a tools that can be imparted or like can be provided, just like we have earlier discussed. Education is like just the information. I mean, if that information is only being imparted into you, that actually doesn't make any changes. If the change has to happen, you have to train with this information. And accordingly, if you like well trained with this information and you know to apply this particular information in different kinds of circumstances and the fields, then definitely by learning less, you can score more. Actually, like the thought process, thinking, structured learning, everything will improve.